Hello, book friends. I am so excited to talk about today's book. This is a book that I've waited literally years to be able to read. And I say that with the most love and appreciation for finally being able to get our hands on it, because it's the last character in this author's first series. So she kind of put her on hold for a little bit, wrote a 5-book series, and now has gone back to this first series. The book that we're going to talk about today is Fighting Fate by Alexandra Silva. It is book 4 in her Imperfect Heart series. I have the paperbacks for this series. I love them. They are prized possessions. I love the design of her covers. I love her words, her stories. So I was super excited to get Willow's story finally. The first book in the series is No One But You. It's about Jamie and Quincy. This is where I fell in love with her. This is where I could not believe it was her first book. Their story, just all the emotions. And this one, okay, recommend the whole for every single book she has written. Okay, let's be clear. I just love her. But let me tell you a little bit about these. No One But You is Jamie and Quincy. It is friends to lovers. It's well, I mean, I guess technically like best friend's brother too. It's medical, it's emotion, it's everything. It's everything. Then we have For You. This is Dory and Philip's story. I would absolutely recommend reading all these books and reading them in order, because even though they run sort of parallel to each other, I'm just that reader. You guys know that. I say that all the time. Okay, if I wasn't already crying in No One But You, this is very emotional as well, but worth it. Don't let that get in your way. It did not get in mine. And then we have Someone Like You, which is Dory and Jake. Jake. Okay, Jake. And if I didn't already love Jamie from the first book, and like felt like I had room in my heart for another one of Alexandra's characters, hi, in walks Jake. And of course we met Jake in No One But You, but this, oh my God, this one. But here we get lots of him in this book. Alexandra's books are emotional, they're real. I get invested in the characters. I connect with the men and women in her books in a really deep way, even if they're so polar opposites than me. And I just love that she can open up my world and my brain to all different kinds of things: dark, romantic, edgy, grief even. She just has the key to my heart with her books, you guys. So the book we're going to talk about today, did I say that already, is Fighting Fate, which is the 4th book in the Imperfect Heart series. Of course, I'm going to put up the cover to Fighting Fate right here. It's just gorgeous. I love her eye and her attention to detail with the covers and the interiors of her books as well. Let's get into Fighting Fate. I loved Willow from the very first book, from No One But You. The way this group of characters is intertwined is really very much family. They are friends, some of them are siblings. So Willow and Dory are twins. I actually forgot about that. Dory, we of course met in For You and Someone Like You, but we meet them all in the beginning in No One But You. I loved seeing them again in this book, being able to be back in that world. That's always really special for me when there's a little time in between books to be able to go back into a world that I love so much. The book takes place in England. Willow is a theater star, takes no crap. She's feisty. She has a very quick wit. I've always enjoyed that about her. Rory is American. He's an MMA fighter. He's in London to open up a gym, like a workout gym, that goes along with his career. I have not read any books about MMA fighters, any of that kind of world. I think the only book that I could remember that has had an MMA fighter or some sort of MMA in it is T.L. Swan's Stanton series. Joshua Stanton it does like an MMA fight. I'm pretty sure it's MMA. It's not just boxing. Is it just boxing? I remember everything about it except for the fact of whether it's just boxing, or MMA. I know someone will tell me. Willow has just broken up with her boyfriend. It was not a good breakup. Turns out he's not a very good guy. It was good that they were not together anymore, but she's heartbroken. She feels taken advantage of by him. She's very down. She's like, I'm done with men. Don't you love that? Because you're like, oh yeah, but here they come. Rory, like I said, is in London to open up gyms. He's going to be there for about 3 months to do that. They meet through a common friend. It's actually Willow's agent, and it's Rory's friend. She's like, who's the dude? Like, really? She's so funny. She's like, he's nothing to look at that I would be attracted to, but for some reason, I'm attracted to him. She talks about him having a wonky nose and like a lazy eye. I mean, it's all in good fun, but at first she's like, dude, no, you know? And he's like, holy shit, she is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And the fact that she gives me shit constantly, I love. Their banter made me laugh so hard, especially because Willow's like, why am I attracted to him? He's not attractive. And of course, Rory's like, that doesn't stand in his way. He doesn't care. This was some of the funny banter right off the bat that made me laugh. It's from Willow's perspective. You can let go now. Is that what you want? The question lingers between us, hanging heavily while he inches closer, his body pressing to mine in the darkened recess. When I look up, I find him watching me intently. Thick lips pressed together in thought, as though he's studying me. Or maybe he's seeing right through me. That's what it feels like, at least. Like he can see the conflict pushing and pulling inside my chest and knotting in my gut. You gonna answer any of my questions? Or are we standing around the rest of the night? I don't owe you anything. Never said you did, he retorts, leaning forward so that he lowers closer. I don't F girls with dickhead boyfriends. I'm 34 years old. I'm an effing woman. Want to get effed by a real man? My breath hitches, even though my head is ready to blurt whatever it takes to push him away. I find myself nodding while my other hand rests on his hip. Before I can change my mind, Rory's mouth is crushing against mine. I loved that he just went for her, even though she was like, whatever, dismissing him all the time. But it was like chemistry off the charts immediately between them. That scene right there was like, ooh, and they left and went for it. Of course, Willow doesn't make it easy on him. She doesn't want a relationship. He's saying, well, we can do this while I'm here. Let's just have some fun. And she's like, ugh, what? It's not even worth it to me. But yet her body is like, maybe I should just go ahead and do this. I'm obviously drawn to him. So one night stand happens and she's like, okay, bye-bye. And Rory's like, oh, I don't think so. So he starts to kind of pursue her. And he's a little perplexed because he's like, I don't chase women. Like, I just don't. He has his reasons of why he doesn't want a relationship, which we dive more into later in the book. But all of a sudden he finds himself like going after her, but she's not responding. So he's like, okay, fine. I'm going to wait for her to come to me. He ends up walking by a florist and he's like, I'm going to get her flowers. Right? What woman doesn't want flowers? And he has a very interesting conversation with the florist. And this is what she says. Playing hard to get, is she? Something like that. I'm going to need you to elaborate. I think she's been hurt and now she's scared, so of course she's a little standoffish. Just a little? Maybe a lot, but she's spunky, and I like that in a woman. I like a challenge, but I don't want to chase her away, so I'm pulling back. Yeah, about that. The quirk of her brow tells me she's about to school me. Never pull back. It makes you look unreliable and unsteady. Every woman's worst nightmare, especially when we've been hurt. Hello. Is that like the best advice? This book is about, on Willow's end, what do you do when the right man appears when it feels like the wrong time? She is so closed off, rightfully so. And on Rory's end, what do you do when you have stayed away from relationships and you can't even see that as part of your life for like a long time? They're adults. Willow says she's 34, and I think he talks about being a year older. I really liked that. I liked how their maturity as mid-30-year-old characters are. That shows in this book. So at that time in life, when you're like, I'm 34 years old, like I'm not dealing with this bull anymore. And he's like, I'm only 34 years old, I have time. But yet here she is. They can both feel their connection so deeply. And he's like, okay, he's a little more amenable about the timeline. He's like, okay, well, I guess let's just try. I can't not try with her. Whereas she's like, but I don't want to be hurt again. And everything he's showing me shows me he can hurt me big time. I love that part of the story because every author tells it differently. Every set of characters goes through it differently. And that's why I never get sick of love stories, because it's always different, but yet there's always the same chase. Somebody is always getting chased, right? That's always happening, and I love that. And I loved Willow and Rory's chase. There's a couple different points of drama in their story. Some of them are a little more serious than the others. Some of them are totally workable. You just gotta figure it out, and they do. And other ones you're like, oof. But the meat in their relationship is the fact that they are two mature adults and how they work through these obstacles that are in their way. It's not rainbows and butterflies. What it is tons of chemistry. Seeing who you feel could be your soulmate there and figuring out how to bring them into your life, recognizing that they have this soul deep connection that neither one of them has experienced before and are bereft without, and figuring out the stuff that life is adding to their journey. And through the ups and the downs of them trying to find their footing, there's a submission that they both go through. They submit to their relationship and their connection, and it's really special. Rory, shockingly enough, because I fell for him hook, line, and sinker right away, shockingly enough, Rory disappointed me so much in one part. I didn't expect it from him, and that's where I think I got a little bit of like the shine rubbed off with him. But thank goodness he got with it. He didn't last long in that space, and he redeemed himself in my eyes 100%. Willow and Rory really do say some very sweet, tender things to each other, and there are some beautiful, tender moments between them. I was just a smitten kitten. These are a couple that I wanted to share with you. When Willow is saying this one, she's actually not in like a great headspace. She just saw something with Rory that put some alarm bells off in her head, but I liked what she said about him and how he was making her feel. No one has ever made me smile the way he does. It's more of a compulsion rather than an action, a feeling that buzzes deep inside me until I can't contain it, and it literally beams out of me. All my sordid history with men disappears, fading to insignificance when we're together. Rory's affection is the only thing I feel. It thrums in my chest, running through my veins like a life force of its own in my bloodstream. Everything and everyone that came before him is nothing but a blip, and I'm effing terrified of losing it. And then from Rory, my only regret will be all the nights you spent outside my bed and all the days I haven't kissed you or told you that I love you. Her lips part as her eyes open on mine. Before I can stop myself, I'm falling all over again. Every piece of me is bursting into flame for her. Every echelon of my soul is blazing for hers. Then she smiles and my heart breaks at the sight. It breaks and breaks and breaks over and over again with every tremble of her lips and light gasp of breath. And it only pulls itself together piece by piece as she barely whispers, I love you. That's the only thing that matters, sweetheart, you and me together. Our biggest mistake will be all the time we're wasting trying to fight this, because all I want is to worship you from your head to your toes and everything in between. I mean, come on, right? He's just, I just loved him. And then last one, and it's from Rory. I'm always going to be that guy looking at the most beautiful girl in the world, desperate to keep her for all of eternity. Seriously? Oh my God. Brings tears to my eyes, makes me a ball of mush. I'm totally ignoring that this is the last book in this series because I don't want to never be back with them again. I'm just kind of gonna ignore that because that will be devastating to me when I acknowledge that. You know, I get like that, you guys. I can't help myself. And we do get a happily ever after at the end of Willow and Rory's story. I will, of course, include in the description box below all of the videos that I've done on each of Alexandra's books. So definitely go check those out. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on the video, and please do consider subscribing. When you do that, it not only helps my channel, but it will help this video get shown to more people here on YouTube. Also, I put my social media links down in the description box below. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I also have a private Facebook group, which I welcome you to come join as well. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!